Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome to round 8 of the ChampCar iRacing series here at COTA. Today we will be featuring the street stocks on this track with a great big field of them all ready to compete. No fewer than 24 cars currently on the grid. And we should be in for an action-packed day of racing. Lots of twists and turns around this fine track here at COTA, and a challenging car for our drivers to pilot that really takes a lot of expertise to get the maximum out of. So really looking forward to a fun race here today. It'll be solo commentary from me today, Devin Peters, and I'm of course being supported by our wonderful broadcaster, Michael Derby, and looking forward to some exciting racing. Our normally very, very tight qualifying field in the ChampCar series has a bit of an exception going on. Justin Hall currently leading the qualifying grid with a 2:24.9, nearly half second up on the second place competitor Aaron Smith, and a bunch of other familiar names in the top 5. Simon Foweather, Alex Cofford, Alex Albert, all guys who we're used to seeing at the front of the ChampCar iRacing Series field. So we'll see if that pace that Justin was able to find in qualifying translates to a dominating victory, or if the draft and the significant tire wear of these cars is enough to slow him down and even things out. We're currently riding around out here with the number 647, which is Nicholas Love's car. Nick Love, of course, a regular of the ChampCar series, out here running some qualifying laps. He's been, he's one of the several drivers that are on their last lap here, so we've just joined just in time to see the final lap. And we'll see what these guys are able to do, see if there's any last-minute challengers for the front of the field. Watching Alex Cofford come across the line. He's had a couple quick laps, but that early start-finish line did him no favors. Slow run out of that last turn led to no faster lap for him. Just kidding. He ran the fastest lap. I lied. 2:24.960 puts him on the pole, so he managed to find a little bit of that go fast juice that Justin Hall had been applying to his tires. But it's only the two of them that have managed to crack the 2:24s, which I think both the length of that lap and the distance between them and the guys a little further back shows how many corners there are at this track and how many places there are to lose just a little bit. You can easily lose a half second in one of these corners just by running a slightly wrong line. Justin Hall coming around on his last lap now, heading into what's got to be turn number 15, 16, and heading through the infamous right-handers here, where Max got that penalty for putting all 4 off and making his way towards turn 19. We'll see if this lap's any quicker. A little bit loose on the exit of 19, and he dives for the pit lane, practicing the entry. So not a good enough lap for him to stick around. I think he's going to be our last really significant competitor. We might have Shane Cameron out here putting one more lap in. He typically shows up a little bit late to these events and tries to sneak in a lap right before qualifying ends. But he is our last car out on track. 1 minute to the grid. And as I mentioned off the top, so today is the 8th round of the iRacing Endurance Series. 8th of 16 rounds. All these drivers are competing for a first place prize equal to $1,500 worth of ChampCar entry fees, as well as every driver being entered to win, provided they complete at least 50% of the laps on 12 of the races, being entered to win a door prize equal to another $1,500 in champ bucks. We have certainly seen sort of an explosion in iRacing, not just through the pandemic, but also seeing more and more of these drivers showing up on real teams. Alex Albert, fifth place currently on the grid, went out to Watkins and performed admirably with Pinkies out. We've got Chris. Chris didn't make it out today, but another driver who's a regular in the series who's also spent his fair share of time racing with some real ChampCar teams. So really kind of a neat way to recruit some folks. Anyway, heading to the grid now. Off the top, we've got Alex Cofford. I'm not seeing. Yeah. Looks like something's weird going on with our overlays. But anyways, Alex Cofford running a 224.9. Justin Hall also 224.99. Aaron Smith 225. Simon Fullweather 4th place. Alex Albert 5th place. Keith Carlson 6th. Nicholas Love 7th. Tim Wire 8th. Ian Giebler 9th. Peter Lozon 10. Charles Kowalczyk 11th. Jay Sofianek in 12th. Andrew Kosick in 13th, Aaron Thorpe in 14th, Troy Isidore 15th, Mark Kruger 16th, David Warden 17th, Greg Vandervert 18th, Jared Cubitt 19th, 20th, Donovan Bort, David Palermo 21st, and 3 more cars at the back of the grid that didn't manage to get a time in, but we'll see if they line up, and that's Andrew Pilata, Shane Cameron, and Rob Craig. Now, these guys will be running a shortened pace lap here, so it won't be a full pace lap before we head off to the green. But we can see the field sort of filling in. And it will be an interesting race. Obviously, one lap pace is important, but with these radial tires that they got on these things, they tend to get really, really warm and just balloon up if you're not careful. And it's hard to be careful in these cars because they are, such boats around the track. So managing the tire wear, managing the tire temperatures, and then also managing that fuel consumption is always going to be a consideration here. Of course, we're starting today with a stock fuel load of about 22 gallons, which should be a little bit less than a little bit less than a half of the race, I think. And we'll see what these guys are able to do. But we've seen more than a few of these races be decided by, the 3rd or the 4th place guy deciding that he's going to save a little bit of extra fuel out there on the track. So really a lot of different angles to play if you want to win out here today. And we'll be keeping an eye on all those different strategies as they're playing out. Coming around the backside of the track, you can almost see the start-finish line off in the distance from here, albeit with a very large pit building between here and the start-finish line. And ChampCar doesn't, I'm not sure what the ChampCar ruling is, but on iRacing, there are some off tracks out here, though it is pretty forgiving for the most part. Lots of the runoff areas that you see around are fully usable. Albeit with maybe minor penalties for going on the green stuff. Slowing the car down a little bit. Grid's tightening up though now. We come to the start, and they're off. Alex Cofford, foot to the floor, gets a nice jump on Justin Hall, and we got Aaron Smith and a few others piling up behind him. Looks like Smith might have missed a gear, or he decided to drop out of it. Alex Albert now up to 3rd place and making a move up the inside. Ooh, gets pinched real good by Cofford there, but does take the position away from Justin Hall. So all that first lap jockeying for position going on, and no time lost as Alex makes up for a bad qualifying effort with 2 positions in the first corner. Nicholas Love does the same, coming from 7th place up to 5th. And our big losers in that first corner is Simon Fullweather, dropping 2 spots back down to 6th in that number 9 car. Things straighten out for the most part through the S's, and it looks like everyone's going to make it through all right. Shane Cameron's also making up a bunch of ground in the middle of the field. taken 3-4 cars already. And part of the challenge of this track is not just that it's so there's so many turns, there's so much variety, but also that because there's so much runoff, there's a lot of different lines you can run through some of these turns. So it's interesting to see some of these guys maybe learning and picking up a little bit. Nice move there from the 161. Ooh, and a little bit of contact for the number 5. Manages to get it straight, but that's Jay Sofianek, and he's had some runs up near the front of the field earlier on this season. The 161, that's Charles Kowalczyk. He put a move there on Tim Wire, dived it so far up the inside, I didn't think he was couldn't get it stopped. But anyways, back up at the start of the field, they're going 3 wide into the end of the straightaway. Nick Love holding strong against Keith Carlson as he tries to make a move. And you can really see Carlson not able to take advantage of the full width of the track there because Nicholas Love was on the outside there holding him down to the apex. Another corner and 5 different lines being attempted through it. And Fairweather, I'm a little surprised to see him dropping back this early. Usually very consistent, but I guess taking it easy through the early part of the race here, making sure that he doesn't get caught up in any of the chaos that can unfold on lap 1. And we come down to the final turn on the first lap. Justin Hall, Alex Cofford leading. Justin Hall, the two of them glued together with Alex Albert a few car lengths back, and Aaron Smith and Nicholas Love rounding out the top 5. And with a lap this long, you got to think that these guys have already settled in. They're already starting to think. We've got Ian Giebler in the 15 making a move up from 161 on the outside. Charles Kowalczyk and Fairweather. Oh my gosh, Fairweather looking for an opportunity there. Did not find it and just door slammed the heck out of Kowalczyk there. Can't make up all 3 of the positions that you lost this early in the race, but easy to misjudge that braking zone into turn number 1 with how uphill it was. He gets himself straightened out by Tim Wire, luckily, and both of them continue on. Got to imagine that Fairweather will be, he had to tow because of the damage that he got there. I was thinking he might have to go for a fast repair, but it looks like the wheel was all the way off after that move. But will not be the last late braking maneuver that we see here. So many hairpins. Makes it great for racing in your high downforce cars because you can do a few different things in the corners, but also makes it a little bit hazardous when you're driving around sedans because, you get yourself in a little bit of trouble doing this stuff, getting in a little bit over your head in some of these corners. Either way, that has led to a pretty solid breakaway. Keith Carlson now about 3 seconds up the road, tailing this group of 6 that's breaking away at the front. And even a slight breakaway forming among the front 3. So we've got, again, Cofford, Hall, Albert, followed by Smith, Love, and Carlson. But all these names are names that we're accustomed to having up at the front of these ChampCar races. Guys that have had their own fair share of success. Albert, of course, leading the points championship, 2-time champion. So we see, it looks like Aaron Smith run a fair bit wide there. Coming off that corner, just kind of overcooked it in the braking zone. But yeah, Alex Albert, 2 race wins this year. And he'll be happy to see that his main championship rival, Mark McCormick, with his 3 wins, has not shown up for this week. So Justin Hall, about 40 points back on Alex Albert, still leading him, but not going to make up that deficit in just 1 round. And Keith Carlson in 6th. No wins for him yet. 4th place in the points. Simon Fairweather, though, got to be kicking himself. He's still in the pits as they come by and put him a lap down. There are faster pairs in this race, but the tow is going to be really punishing out here. North of 2 minutes on the lap, you got to think they're going to be towing you for 3.5 minutes. And the 51 there, that was Keith Carlson getting real feisty up the inside there as he makes a move on Aaron Smith. Good stuff. Hearing his name on the broadcast, I must be thinking he needs to make that move up closer to the front. Smith is actually an interesting cat. Not only a regular in the ChampCar series, also runs in the Thursday Night Blunder with the Dinner with Racers guys, and I believe he was the regular season points champion last time when they ran that. And their series was a jolly good time. Lots of unique combinations. One that sticks out is the the Wedge Nissan's GTP ZXT, I believe, that we raced in reverse. While Aaron Smith and the other guys were racing two-wheel drive pro lights and using us as ramps as we went around the track. So yeah, very interesting series, and Aaron Smith showed himself there. We'll see if he can take that pro light experience and put it to good use in these street stocks. Probably about as comparable as it gets, all things considered. If we hop on board with one of these things, you'll see when we get in the braking zones, the nose slams down as you get on the brakes, and then pops right back up as you get on the throttle. Not how you'd envision a car handling ideally. Lots of body roll and stuff, but certainly a good time, and really rewards kind of smooth and precise driving to make the lap time. You can make a little bit of lap time for a while, really abusing the tires, but you want to make that whole stint work smooth and controlled. Looking a little further down the field, Ian Giebler and Peter Lezon in the 15 and the 56 are having themselves a nice little battle. Giebler pushes Lezon wide as they head into that corner, but compromises his own entry, and Giebler gets the over-under, Lezon gets the over-under, and he's going to beat him into turn number 19. Oh, but he beats himself off the corner there too. And Lezon, Giebler probably had a run, but Lezon gets lucky because Giebler slides it a little bit in the corner and loses the run that he did have as they're heading down to turn one here. But a little bit of side draft for Giebler. Breaks a little early. Let's see. Two guys, one apex. Looks like they're giving each other lots of room though. So Giebler gets a nice run, and he'll have the inside as they head into turn number 2. And that's pretty key as you get into these S's. Holding that inside really gives you the preferred line through this next sequence. And you get the first one wrong, you get all of them wrong. This is one of those sections, Man, I would love to see these things run around with this track in real life. That would be a good, jolly old mess. Anyway, checking back in on the front of the field, Cofford and Hall are still glued together, bumper, nose to tail. But Alex Albert's actually dropped back a little bit, and I'm not sure I can attribute to anything in particular. He didn't have a particularly good lap last time, lost about 7/10 to them that way, but that can be as simple as hanging a brake anywhere on the track here. Either way, nearly 2 seconds as they come down this straightaway. He's paying the price and falling back towards Nick Love, who's running up behind him. Cofford and Hall did both qualify, half a second faster than Alex. So this might mean something, if they're able to find a little bit extra and Alex can't quite hang on to the draft. But Alex has historically been very, very good in this street stock. So, and we see him kind of closing down the gap. So maybe it was just an overtaking move gone wrong. Anyway, a little bit more battling is what Nick Love's hoping to see as he follows them in the number 647. And you can really see just all the different lines these guys are running. It's halfway is because there's a lot of different ways to do it right around here, but it's also halfway just because it's hard to get the car pointed the right way. Sometimes on the exit of these corners, you're just riding it as it pushes you around. So far, though, things are going pretty good. 22 cars still in the running. Simon Faulweather's made his way back out of the pits. Unfortunately, a lap down at this point. So no cautions in this series. So very unlikely that he'll be able to make that strategy work, even if he goes extra long on fuel. And honestly, not sure if the tank has enough capacity to allow him to do a one-stop from lap number 2, sort of like he did. Next closest battle on track, I gotta say, is probably between the 550 of Troy Isidore and the 74 of Shane Cameron. They're heading into the S's now. And Shane, of course, I mentioned he kind of snuck in right at the end of qualifying, has now caught himself up to the back of Troy Isidore, and you can see getting that line a little bit more right on that part of the S's, but now drifting a little bit wide through the next section. Really key to keep yourself as far right as you can, so you can make this kind of tricky off-camber left-hander and right-hander work for you. And this transition here from cambered to flat and then back to camber again, there's more grip there than you expect, but a really fun little section of corners. But yeah, Troy and Shane have been engaging this battle for about a lap and a half now and running very, very similar times. Cameron, a little bit more consistent, I'd say, in the last 5. But Troy has an advantage of the position, of course, so kind of allowing himself to block Cameron as necessary to make this thing work. Meanwhile, my producers run away. He'll be right back, but we've had a change for position at the front of the field. Alex Albert has taken the lead with Nick Love, and I'm just looking back at the replay. We'll get it for you as soon as he's back, but it looks like Justin Hall and Cofford, a little bit of netcode contact, and ended up costing both of them. Justin Hall lifting out and giving the position back. Keeping up with Shane Cameron, though. He's still chasing. Oh, yeah, okay, we are back on the replay here. So, yeah, it looks like Justin Hall just got it in a little bit deep, touched Alex Cofford, spun him, and then did sort of the gentlemanly thing and lifted out of it to give the spot back to Alex Cofford in that next set of corners. Really easy to do, and honestly, I'm not even sure that there was that much contact. It looks to me like it was just a netcode incident, but happens. And always a risk in these cars because they're spending so much time drifting. Either way, Alex Albert and Nicholas Love, the beneficiaries, and Aaron Smith close behind him in 3rd place. And we can't count out Justin and Cofford just yet. Cofford won to drive with a red mist and find some pace when he needs it. And Justin Hall only 2.5 seconds behind the lead right now. So pretty likely that will come back to him if he's a little bit patient. But a new top 3. Alex Albert, the only one sticking around in that group. And you can see just how easy it is for this stuff to go wrong. It's fortunate, but also a little tragic for the broadcast that the iRacing did a fix recently. And if you watch some of the earlier races, you'll have remembered the enormous amount of tire smoke we were getting off the front end of these cars as they were breaking into the corners. iRacing correctly decided that was probably a little too much. So not getting nearly as much smoke, but we do know that when you see a guy lock it up, they meant it. It's pretty hard to get those tires smoking the way we used to see them all the time on the sim, that's for sure. And Alex Albert lays down 2 blackies all the way through that double right-hander. Takes the very wide entry, contrasted with Nick Love, who took the narrow entry but a slightly wider exit. And Nick looked like he was catching that car the whole way through. His rear brakes were just locking up. Kind of unbelievable how much yaw these things run with as they're just sliding around, squirming around. 15 minutes into the race, though, and these guys will be feeling a little bit of tire drop-off. Last time by, seeing some of these guys who were previously in the low 25s, now running closer to 26s. That will, of course, be offset by some of that 22 gallons of fuel disappearing from their tank. And luckily for Justin Hall, as predicted, he's made up some ground. Made up about half second on that lap on the guys in front of him, despite the issues earlier. Ooh, and Nick Love got it a little wrong in the braking zone there. But manages to gather it back up. That's really where you start to tend to see it, though, is the brakes go and then the front end goes, because you can't get the thing to turn in once these tires get real toasty. Checking back in on Shane Cameron and Troy Isidore, our favorite midfield battle for lucky number 13. Shane's got a bit of a run on Troy, but it looks like he's not ready to quite give it a look, and takes that real sort of late apex on that corner. Looks to me like he might be doing a little bit of fuel saving, and he wouldn't be the only one. got to suspect that there's more than a few guys, especially at the front after those issues, that are thinking, hey, it's time to save some fuel now. Because these cars not only take a lot of fuel, it also seems like they're being filled by guys that have less than 3-inch openings on their fuel cans, like us ChampCar guys do. 3-inch? Okay. But anyway, yeah, for sure, it's like frequently a 50-second pit stop just to get 2 full Hunskers in these things and get them back on the track. Either way, a nice little move there from Shane. He had the run, but he didn't quite have the room as Troy kind of held him off. And Troy's doing a really good job of kind of consistently taking the defensive line. Shane's got a good run here, though, and this is a big straightaway. Sure enough, commentators curse Shane Cameron's going to take this one away with ease. Can't get back to full throttle when you're on that green gas, and Troy put himself in an unenviable spot. We'll see. We'll have to check in a few laps and see if Cameron's still holding this position or if he's decided to run away. A few spots up the field, we got Aaron Thorpe, Ian Giebler, and Mark Kruger all kind of running together in a little battle pack for 9th, 10th, and 11th. Giebler, of course, had his little punch him up with Peter Luzon there a little earlier on in the race, but that's now been separated. He's about Luzon, that is about 4 seconds up the track. Aaron Thorpe running smoothly and consistently. Got to be pretty pleased with how things are going for him so far. Both he and Mark are up about 5 spots since the start of the race. And you're seeing the 2 different approaches to that last corner. There's no off track on the outside of that last turn, so you can go real wide as long as you keep it on the mostly paved parts of the track. Checking back in at the front of the field, though, things are still pretty tight. Alex Albert has managed to get a little gap going, but Nick Love has Aaron Smith and Justin Hall now right packed up behind him. And Carlson, who's running 5th, and Cofford, who's running 6th, are actually both packed as well. And it looks like Cofford wants to make a move. You see him in the foreground of that shot making a little bit of contact with Keith Carlson as the 2 of them get things sorted out. Not a lot of bump drafting in the real world iRacing series, but or in the real world ChampCar series rather, but on the iRacing series you see it fairly often. Down this big, nearly 1 mile long straightaway as they head down towards turn number, what is that, 12. According to my track map, F1 cars are hitting 330 kilometers an hour. Our street stocks aren't quite going that fast, but they certainly brake for just as long, if not 3 times as long. Heading into that corner. Either way, Cofford and Carlson keeping it glued together. Cofford really eager to get on with it. And, you don't want to give up the spot if you're Carlson, but also at a certain point you got to think maybe Cofford's going to tow you up to the front if you let him by. And Cofford makes a move up the inside here, takes all the curb. Carlson holds it equal, though, and gets a better run out of the corner. Cofford's still got position, though, as they head into the last turn. It looks like Carlson's trying for the over-under. Cofford's not giving that a chance, though, and he really does a good job of parking it on the apex, making that turn work. Meanwhile, up at the front, looks like there's a pass going for the lead. Nick Love got alongside Alex Albert, but Alex gets a little bit of that side draft, and he's going to take the spot into the first turn. Or is he? Nick Love to the apex. Alex gives him plenty of racing room. Aaron Smith's right there, too. Alex holds on to it, though, and Love doesn't quite run it out as wide as he could have, and Alex takes it away. Frequently, a critical factor in some of these battles at the front is the computer hardware on every guy's side. And I got to wonder, I haven't seen Nick Love's setup, but he might not have those triple monitors or that VR setup, so he might not have been able to see that Alex was giving him lots of racing room and kind of had to take a conservative line there. Either way, he gets a great run through that turn there, easily going to overtake Alex before the kink, much less the next corner. Again, though, giving Alex lots of room, lots of chance to make it back up as they head down this next corner. And again, Alex gets past him on the outside. Ooh, still side by side, heading this big old straightaway. Alex is going to get the better run with the outside line, though. Classic running the top of the track gives you that little bit extra, and Nick's going to have to drop back inside for the draft. These guys keep up battling, though, and there's going to be a pair of guys who win. Cofford and Carlson have both made up nearly a second on these guys ahead of them this lap, so Carlson making the right call by letting Cofford get by him, whether by choice or by accident, and looks like those two are rapidly going to make this battle of 3 or 4 at the front into a battle of 6. Ooh. Coming up on 22 minutes into this race, there's been no shortage of action at the front of the field. And these guys are also, like I said, very experienced competitors in this series and in the real series, ChampCar itself. So, and actually, it looks like Nick Love is trying to go early on the pit stop. So, pit window will have just opened, and I wonder if Nick has decided that he wants those fresh tires and try and do some sort of big undercut, taking inspiration from Red Bull this weekend at the Steering Grand Prix there, and decides, yes, I'll go be the first one in for tires. Hopefully he's not planning a 2-stop there. French Grand Prix, sorry, apologies. But yeah, we'll see if that pans out for him. I'll keep an eye on his sort of on his overlap as we get a little further on into this race. Ooh, and Justin Hall gets a little bit wrong that time for the Estes, and Alex Cofford's flying right back up on him. And ooh, after that contact last time, Justin tried to get by Alex Cofford. I gotta wonder if Hall is going to get the same treatment from Cofford, do unto others and all that. Not quite enough overlap there, though, just yet. And these two can't afford to battle that hard, because if they do, Albert and Aaron might decide to run away. Alex Albert locks it up real big, manages to dive back onto the track from the runoff, but that was a scary moment for him. Traditionally, what we've seen in these races is that fuel savings king and tire savings king. And we see Justin Hall pull out and lift off. He might be making one of those calls for fuel saving. He might also be doing it out of self-preservation. As I've alluded to, Alex Cofford is a guy that gets a little hot when he gets racing. So Justin might have decided, discretion the better part of valor, wants to be in it at the end. And to be honest, over the last few laps, Cofford has really had some strong pace. So made up a lot of ground that last time by, nearly a second faster than both, actually more than a second faster than the top 3 were. And he's already picked off Justin Hall. Getting into that rhythm, though, can really do wonders for you. See another car opting for the pit lane. That's Aaron Smith, who's just dived in that yellow number 70 car. His trademark kind of yellow cars like this. I've seen him run them in all kinds of different series. But he opts to go for the pit lane. And Love has come out, it looks like down in about 12th place. He stopped for about 45 seconds. Sorry, about 17 seconds, 45 seconds total on the lane. 17 does seem a little short to me for a full 1 hour, but we will see. And yeah, we're getting a couple more callers for the pit lane. We got Troy Isidore, who was just battling with Shane Cameron, who has just decided to duck in the pits, and now Cameron and Cossack are here. And Shane must have run into some trouble. I'm kind of looking for it on the replay. Haven't seen it yet, though. These two are actually going to come out right alongside Aaron Smith on those cold, fresh tires. We'll see how fast he's able to drive away from them. But either way, Shane must have had some sort of incident, because he was doing well, sort of near Nicholas Love on the track, but ended up significantly further down the order, nearly 8 seconds back from where he was all of a sudden. So ran wide somewhere. You can see how painful it is when you get those S's a little bit better than someone else. You just bleed in lap time when you're stuck behind them. And Aaron Smith driving away as predicted. Those cold tires making a healthy difference, or cooler tires anyway. And I'll note that Love hit, like I said, only 17 seconds of fuel for him. Aaron Smith with 24, which is kind of more in line, 25, kind of more in line with what I expected. So it'll be interesting to see. On a big, long track like this, something that can come into play is that a lot of these guys are using different apps to sort of do predictive fuel mileage calculations. And sometimes those indicators can get a little tricked, a little bit confused by a very fast pace, telling you that you're going to run one less lap than you are, or that you're going to run one more lap than you actually are. So they're not perfect systems, and you do have to use your judgment a little bit. And Nick Love might be playing a masterclass here if he's gotten that right. Either way, we are seeing a little bit of a breakaway. Albert has managed to find some pace, actually pretty significantly, over the last lap or so. He ran a 2:26.2 last time by. The only guy outside of the people on fresh tires, that's Aaron Smith, to run a 2:26 last time by. And, stretching it out a little bit, getting a little bit of cushion before he maybe considers going for the pit lane. We are right around that halfway mark, so it would make some sense. And we have, things have quieted out a little bit otherwise. Carlson and Kowalczyk's actually done a pretty good job of driving himself back up here. He kind of gotten separated a little bit earlier in the race, but he's managed to drive that gap back down, running consistently faster, almost a half second faster per lap than these guys at this phase of the race. So his tires, kind of coming into their own, while some of the other guys are starting to struggle for grip for sure. Either way, Kowalczyk kind of doing that Love team name proud as he chases these guys up at the front down. And there really is something to be found. Your average car, you can't take those yellow bumper curbs, sausage curbs, whatever you want to call them, quite so aggressively. But in these things, aim right at them, because they've got the suspension travel of like an off-road vehicle. So they're not particularly harmed or upset when you send them flying over them. And actually a battle of some significance going on for 11th and 12th place. That's Nick Love and Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith has managed to drive right back up on the back of Nick Love. And these two, of course, are the first two of our leaders to have taken a pit stop. And the leaders themselves are actually pulling by the pits, and Cofford has just pulled into the pit lane. Both Albert and Hull opt to stay out, and Carlson and Kowalczyk as well. So we'll be seeing Cofford pull out. In the meantime, Smith and Love still battling it out, though. Love holding off Aaron Smith's charge so far. But these two are very close together. And like I mentioned, running some pretty quick laps. Alex ran a 2:26.2 the lap before, but this time by only a 27.1. Meanwhile, these guys, Love and Smith, are both going to be easily in the 26s. So you've got to think that this undercut is panning out for them a little bit. Of course, have to have tires at the end of the race too, so it could be a concern for them. Either way, Love and Smith are coming down past the start-finish line, and Cofford isn't even off the jacks yet, just barely getting rolling. So he has certainly paid the price on that undercut. He's just exiting the pit line as those two are rolling around turn number one. So undercut definitely making a difference there. Yeah. Keith Carlson and Charles Kowalczyk are battling it out as well for fourth and fifth place now, albeit with pit cycles on their side. Carlson gets the early run out of the corner, but as we've seen all too many times, a little bit of side draft, and all of a sudden you're right up there with him. Tucks in onto the quarter panel low of Kowalczyk, and Kowalczyk, or sorry, of Carlson, and Carlson actually runs it a little wide and sort of drifts it out there. When you're sliding, you're not turning, you're not accelerating, so it's bad stuff. And costs him a fair chunk of time, though Kowalczyk does his own impression on the exit of that next corner. The two of them, though, getting themselves out clean and clear, and Kowalczyk has taken the position away. And that's a really impressive showing from Kowalczyk at this point. He is benefiting from the pit cycle, of course, but he's up nearly 8 positions from where he qualified. So really starting to get kind of a hang of this track as we go around. And another leader diving for the pits, Alex Albert, takes a real tight run into the pit lane that time. And we'll see where he comes out relative to these guys. I am hearing from my producer that Nick Love might not have the fuel required. And I got to say, I kind of agree with him. Cool. Love himself has fully 7 seconds less fuel than everyone else that we've seen hit the pit lane so far. Now, Albert and Hall and some of these other guys are going to be real key measuring sticks because they very seldom get it wrong. And actually, I noticed that Carlson has opted for the pit lane as well this time. But it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Got Alex still on the pit lane as Love comes by, and so does Smith. Both of them, of course, benefiting from a relatively large time. But Alex Albert has been stopped for a long time. He's 37, 38 seconds, 39? What's going on here, man? Having some sort of issue on the pit lane. Oh, no. Wow, that's a dagger in his race. That's real disappointment for him. We'll have to check in with him and see what went on there. He's still on the pit lane though after almost a minute. I wonder. Yeah, he must have taken a speeding penalty on the way in or something like that. Now nearly a minute and 3 he gets rolling, and yeah, that's, you think 33 seconds of fuel, a 30-second black flag for speeding on entry. That's what that gets you. He'll be playing catch-up for the rest of this race, and his hopes for an easy win today, or a win without having to battle his main competitor, Mark McCormick, those hopes have been dashed. Either way, Justin Hall still running around all at the front without any real competition at this point. Charles Kowalczyk following him about 4 seconds back. But those two and Keith Carlson are kind of our last of the... Actually, correction there. Those two are kind of our last two on the lead, or sorry, that haven't gone through the pit cycle yet. Peter Lazone and Ian Giebler on that list too. And in the meantime, this little battle with, and Justin dives for the pit lane this time. I had to think it was coming, Seems like most of the other guys were running low on fuel. Either way, Nicholas Love, Aaron Smith, and Alex Cofford are all battling for position that looks like 9th, 10th, 11th, but will be assuredly higher up the grid. By my timing screen, they're 5th, 6th, 7th, and we've got a few other guys that are pulling into the pits already. Either way, Smith is kind of leading the bunch right now, with Cofford making eyes at Nick Love. But this could be Smith's moment, make that undercut work, get away. Justin Hall still on the jacks as they're coming down the front straightaway. Justin gets out. He's going to lose those spots, but not by very much. And he gets tires that are anywhere from, what do you want to call it, 2 to 5 laps younger than those guys. That feels like a pretty sweet advantage to me. He'll have to make them work real early or real late. That's usually the trick with these things. So we'll see what he's able to pull off. But got to feel like he's a little bit in the catbird seat right now, just pulling right up behind these guys easily first time through the S's. And easily to the good on fuel. Things are plenty tight. Gotta wonder when the move's gonna come. Well, Kowalczyk and Lozon still lapping out at the front of the field, enjoying their time in the sun. No laps led points in this series, unfortunately for them, but enjoying seeing the front of the field. And a couple other cars. We've got a little battle going for what looks like 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th on track, which is Sofianek, Thorpe, Albert, and Giebler. Albert, after taking what I gotta assume was that speeding on the entry to pit lane penalties, he's now kind of in recovery mode. The way our championship series works here, you get 16 races, but you do get 4 drop weeks. And so when you're racing in a series with drop weeks, it's really critical to make sure that your drops or your worst finishes are as good as possible, so that you can drop and save your drops for really good points finishes, for really disastrous points finishes rather. So if you if you crash out of a race or something and it's just not repairable, making sure that these races where you're running into a little bit of adversity, they're not quite so damaging, can be really key in the long run. But that's got to think that's what's on Alex Albert's mind as he eyes up Greg Vandevert and Ian Giebler ahead of him. Both of them actually putting on a pretty good show. Vandevert up nearly 8 positions, and albeit without a stop. But Giebler also doing pretty well. I think once the pit lane cycle swings out, he'll be up 3 spots from where he started. And we are seeing, who else was that on pit lane? Shane Cameron and David Warden, a few other guys diving into the pit lane. David Palermo there as well. Second of our lap down runners, Palermo. So hasn't gotten a lot of shout-outs on the broadcast. Either way, some action back up at the front as we see Alex Albert go up the inside of Ian Giebler there and take that position away, presumably as we head down into the next corner. We'll see. Either way, at the front of the field, Cofford has managed to make his way by Nick Love. There is a little bit of love going on between those fenders and bumpers. Justin Hall is also going to get a little bit of a run here on Nick Love, and I'm wondering if Love is starting to do the math and realize that he might have missed it on the fuel calcs. Either that or Hall and Cofford got impatient and decided it was time to go by. Nonetheless, Cofford now right up the inside of Aaron Smith as we ride on board with Justin Hall. And we see, late braking, and it catches Smith out, and that puts Cofford into the lead of the race, pit cycle notwithstanding. Nick Love, in the meantime, is holding off a charge from Justin Hall, but after this right-hander, it switches back to a tight left, and you got to think that Love's not going to have the advantage for that one, even as he squeezes Justin as they head down into this corner, and Smith kind of pinches Justin. Too short of a straightaway to run that wide, though, and Hall manages to almost clear, still giving Nick some racing room, but there's not really a passing opportunity there. This corner just gradually gets tighter and tighter through that middle and then widens back out at the end. It's really hard to make it stick up the inside there without resorting to some really adventurous lines. And all 3 of these guys running into one of the first bits of lap traffic. Haven't seen a lot of lap traffic yet. Of course, this being a 2.5-minute long lap takes a fair bit to catch a guy, but we'll see. Jared Cubitt just up the road there in that green car. And actually, interestingly enough, I've just noticed out of the corner of my eye, Charles Kowalczyk coming off the pit lane with a reasonable fuel stop, short but not ridiculously short, and he's only 4 or 5 seconds away. Cubit, meanwhile, wisely gets out of the way, lets all the leaders go by. Thank you very much. And Kowalczyk will have to clear him as well. Hopefully he doesn't get held up too much. Yeah, and Cubit gives him plenty of room again. Thank you very much, bud. In the meantime, though, Kowalczyk, I wasn't sure that he was still in this race. He's going to have laps that are 2 laps lower than Justin's, and critically 6 and 7 laps lower than Aaron and Love's. So this is going to be something to watch. He might come on near the end of this race. A few different angles as everyone sort of plays their cards for this strategic battle we got going on here. But yeah, and our leader at this moment is Peter Lazon, driving, enjoying himself, and still running competitive laps, 27s in that range, which is about on par with the leaders. Once you, excuse me, I had to take a water break there. Once you get past the first few laps of new off the tires, there isn't that much lap time differential between a 5-lap old tire and a 15-lap old tire. So Lazon, he's kind of, I got to think that he's going to come out 15 seconds behind these guys once he pits, but he's not losing time hand over fist at this point in the race. And he is going to benefit from kind of the overcut here, you got to think, especially if he's been trying to save any fuel. Though he hasn't had much of a drafting buddy, got to say. Speaking of drafting buddies, Justin Hall and Alex Cofford have kind of formed back up after their early success in the race, doing just that, kind of pulling away from Aaron Smith and Nick Love. And these two can be pretty competitive in these cars. I've seen Cofford win street stock races by ridiculous margins. Just the looseness of his car really seems to appeal to him. And both of these guys know each other pretty well. They race in a couple other weekly series on a very regular basis. So, contact early on in the race, but as we saw, Justin lifted out, and no love lost, a lot of respect between these guys. And no matter how you look at it, they're kind of pulling away from Smith and Love. Well, and 15 minutes left, but that doesn't mean that there's not still racing lower down the field. We got Jay Safinak and Mark Kruger really lining each other up. Correction on that. That's Safinak and Thorpe that are lining each other up for 10th and 11th place. What was I? Anyway, Safinak. No, that's Thorpe in front in the 42. Anyway, Safinak and Thorpe are still battling away. Kind of the joy of these races, both in ChampCar in the real world and on the sim, is that there's guys of all kinds of different levels, competing with each other. And you never know when you're going to run into someone who's just perfectly on pace with you, ready to battle you. Either way, though, it looks like Thorpe is kind of taking the upper hand there and taking a few car lengths away from Safinak. Now almost a 1 second gap between the two of them as they head down the straightaway. And Safinak will get a little bit of draft, but not enough at that kind of distance that he'll have any sort of run heading down in the first turn. Up the road, we do see Giebler going wide. Holy, that's if that's the line, I'm not sure. I think that even the folks over at IndyCar and Spec Me Autumn Racing might have a problem with that line. But it is easy to fall asleep heading down the straightaway that long in a car that is fast-ish like this one. Either way, he manages to hold it together, and Alex Albert takes a little bit more of a cushion now, almost 3 seconds ahead of Giebler, and peeking back up towards a little further up the top 10. Carlson and Kowalczyk, as predicted, Carlson about 10 seconds behind the kind of leading pack, maybe 15. And Kowalczyk about 7, as he was when he came out of the pit. So hasn't made a ton of time up, but is making some time on the back half of that pack. Both Love and Smith dropping just minorly further back towards him. And meanwhile, I mean, I've got to say, we still haven't seen a stop from Peter Lazon, who's 16 seconds ahead of these guys. I'm almost certain that these things are usually set up so that you do need a stop, but I mean, crazier things have happened. So we'll have to see how that ends up panning out for him. But he's doing the long, lonely road right now, all by himself, and just kind of pumping out those consistent laps. Like I said, the 27s, low 28s. Definitely losing time to Cofford and Hall at this point, as they both ran a 25 last time by. But I mean, if you don't stop, then you don't lose any time. Nonetheless, Cofford and Hall is probably our closest racing on the track right now. Those two don't look like there's serious overtaking moves, though we are kind of getting down to it. Only 13 minutes left on the clock, and both of these guys, pretty, might be kind of realizing that time's running out. You're not going to get a ton of opportunities to make an overtake here with both of them running as well as they do. And Hall's got a bit of a run here, but just tucks it up nice and close and doesn't make the move. Both of them did have very similar fuel stops. So I don't think anyone will be compromised on fuel. Nick Love notwithstanding, 7 seconds less fuel than the rest of the field. We'll see how that pans out for him. Riding on board with him myself, I just want to hearing pretty big lifts from Love into turn 1. Though it's hard to tell because the car does brake from 500 feet away. Going into turn 1, so nonetheless. In the meantime, though, just kind of watching this battle between Hall and Cofford. A little edge here, a little loss there. And they stay within 2/10, 3/10 of a second. So 10 minutes to go, and things are relatively quiet on the battlefront. Of course, keeping an eye on what Cofford and Hall are doing, but relatively quiet. And gotta say, some points implications here. I mean, Carlson, Hall are both going to gain some ground here on Alex. Hall in 3rd place in the points, Carlson in 4th place in the points. Both of them about 40 points behind Alex right now. So gotta expect that this is going to be a bit of a coup for them as far as that goes. Point system here, 50 points for 1st place, down to 1 point for 38th place, and with 24 cars on the grid, everyone's going to be scoring points today. But getting what it will be, an extra 10 points on Alex Albert in terms of differential, and not considering any drop weeks, that's pretty good haul for these guys up at the front. On the other hand, 5th place in the points, Fowler is going to be feeling the pain. We haven't talked about him much since the start of the race. He's managed to keep himself on the lead lap, but he's still running down in 18th place. That damage he suffered early on really hamstringing him. And Nick Love, 7th place, and about 80 points back. not a super contender for the lead of the points right now, but will be making up some ground. And Aaron Smith, I believe, has enough drop weeks, that he's not really in contention for the points right now. Though it is a little bit hard to measure, not exactly knowing how those points are going to shake out. Nonetheless, Nick still following along relatively closely on Hall and Cofford. Impressively. Impressive also to note that Peter Lazon is still out there. Under 10 minutes to go, 9 minutes even. And no signs of him going to the pit lane. So if the no-stop strategy is real, Peter Lazon has absolutely committed to it. And it, I'm not sure you can catch it on the broadcast cam, but big, huge lifts off, rolling every corner. From he was lifted off from the left-hander before that one, and just rode it all the way through. You almost can't even hear him using the brakes. Keeping it up, a gear higher. I mean, he's doing all the right stuff if it were going to work out. Meanwhile, Justin Hall has fallen back a little bit and gotten significantly closer to Nick Love. I'm not sure there's a move brewing, but Nick Love thinks there might be. Well, peeks it out, but doesn't go for it. Either way, though, Cofford is pulling a slight gap. And somewhere, actually, this lap, there's been another change in the top 5 because Kowalczyk has managed to get around Aaron Smith, and I'm not entirely sure where that actually happened. And commentator's curse once again. Lazon has had to stop. He had to stop, and not only did he have to stop, he had to stop and back up. So that'll have significantly damaged his chances there. But I got to think no tires at this point in the race, and there'll be just a little splash and dash to go. In the meantime, Kowalczyk running and now ahead of Aaron Smith. I got to think that Smith had some sort of spin or something. He ran a slow lap last time by a 2:28. In the meantime, Alex Albert gaining a spot as he comes out just ahead of Peter Lazon. And then Albert's still 19 seconds behind Keith Carlson. So I got to think that barring a major mistake from Carlson, that's about as far up the order as he's going to get today. And in the meantime, it looks like our new top 3 is the top 3 we were kind of predicting all along: Cofford, Hall, and Love. All 3 of them keeping that pack together. Kowalczyk, though, still kind of in the picture, 4 seconds back, but it really only takes one bad move, get these cars all kind of exploded off the line, or, someone half spun, and all of a sudden he's right back in it too. When Hall, learning from earlier in the race where he got a little too close to Cofford through that corner, they run kind of different lines, and Hall put the bumper on him early on in the race, but pretty tight as these guys are going. 6 minutes to go. About 3 laps by my estimate. Should get that 3rd lap in with the way this is cycling out. The pace at the front still pretty stout. Hall in particular has averaged 2:25 the last 3 laps by. And he just gave up a spot to Nick Love despite that. Interesting. Not sure what prompted that. Had my eyes on the wrong car in that moment. But yeah, it looked like he just lifted to let Love by. So maybe Hall... I'm not sure I understand that one with 5 minutes to go, to be honest, but we'll see. Maybe Hall feels like Love has a shot at, being the can opener here. And, as I've mentioned a few times, Love is running on 7 seconds less fuel than the rest of these guys. So maybe this is Love's or Paul's way of making sure that Love is spending all that fuel. Not able to lift and coast quite as much as he'd like. Always some angles to play. If Love does have the fuel to make it to the end, though, he's potentially 5 gallons lighter than these guys too. Which, these are very heavy cars, but that is significant. And you see them all kind of getting swirly and out of shape there. Cofford took that inside curb, and you can get away with that, but and these cars do like to do that, but you get back to the throttle too quick, and you'll spin those rears a long way before they find traction. Top 3 glued together. Come through the final corner, maintaining positions. Cofford, Love, Hall, 2 laps to go. Quick check-in on a couple of battles. Thorpe and Sophia next, still racing for 10th and 11th place. These two have been glued together pretty well through the second half of this race. And we've also got a tight little battle going on for Cossack and Cameron. So we'll make sure to check in on those before we get to the start-finish line. But in the meantime, we're going to head back up to the front of the field as we watch Cofford dive into the S's. These guys struggling for grip at this point in the race. You can really tell. The other possibility I had not considered earlier, these things have a 4-speed gearbox, and it is notorious for missing a gear. So it's entirely possible that Justin Hall just missed a gear coming out of the second to last turn. That hadn't occurred to me until right now. So that might explain why he gave up that spot to Love. Simplest explanation and all that, rather than doing some sort of 4D chess and trying to keep Love from having enough fuel. Nonetheless, Love looks like he's close enough this time that he might get enough draft on Cofford to have a thought. And he peaks. Yeah, he's no overlap though. It looks like he's going to give that up. Try and get the run. Oh, and Hall taking that right-hander faster than both the guys ahead of him and gave Love a solid punt. Breaks up the group a little bit as he gives some of that space back to make sure that Love holds it together. Love was going through that corner real straight though. I don't know if he saw the hit coming or if he just takes that much of a different line. Nonetheless, Hall now nearly half second back from the guys ahead of him. Last few turns, 1 lap to go, next time by. We'll see if there's any drama to be had. Another little battle pack forming up in the middle of the field too. Giebler and Lazone will be battling right to the end too. So lots of positions to be had. Battles for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 13th, 14th, and even 17th and 18th at this point in the race. Last lap though, Cofford takes the white flag. We got 2 flagmen on this lap, on this track. And Justin Hall looks for the tightest run. Can't quite find it though. And we'll see where Nick Love decides to make his move. He's definitely close enough that he'll be able to find something. I can't understate how hard these bus stop or these S's are in these things, both because they're pigs as far as car goes, but also because they got that dump truck steering, 2.5 rotations, nearly both ways to get them turning. But everyone makes it through clean. Gotta say, advantage Cofford looked like he picked up a 10th. Keeping things tight onto this very long straightaway. Up the hill and then back down it, and Love is close enough this time. He should have the draft. Should have the chance. Cofford already making defensive moves. You must go around the outside. Love says, yes, please. Cofford has won the braking race the last few times, though, and Love, he gets up alongside, and he runs it out wide. We'll see if this works for him. There is some pace out here. Yeah, get to the apex. Close move there. Cofford looks like he's got the advantage, but Hall might be coming for a run here, too. Yeah, Cofford holds him off. Real tight into this next section. Both of them using the full runoff to get their cars going again. Only a few corners left. You gotta think it's gonna be the last turn if it's gonna be anywhere. $16, $17, $18. Options running away. $19, Justin Hall's got a look. Cofford pulls away though. And Love tries to send it, but there's not enough there, and Cofford gonna run it to the line and swerving back and forth, rightfully so. Great. Cofford! Is Cofford out of fuel? What's going on? Or did they have the start-finish line a little earlier than I thought? Anyways, Charles Kowalczyk, he's going to come across the line for 4th place. 5th place going to Aaron Smith. Looks like Carlson just behind Smith as they come to the line, but both of them managed to hold off Alex Albert. Our first battle really behind those guys is Lazone and Giebler, who are 56 and the 15, battling over 8th and 9th place. They come down to left corner, and Lazone slides at all 4 tires. Giebler's got the better run for sure. And then he kind of gives it all away, trying to get back to the inside. Lots of opportunities happening on the last lap there, but it looks like Lazone's gonna win that one. And then a few more cars on the last lap. Looks to me like Cameron has gotten the best of Cossack on this lap, so that battle has been more or less decided. Sofianek crosses the line in 11th behind Thorpe. And yeah, Cossack has lost the spot to Cameron and will not have a chance to get it back. So Cameron's going to take 13th place. Our big winner this race, Cameron, outside of the actual winner, coming up 9 places from where he started without qualifying time in the back of the field. Troy Isidore in the 550 coming across the line in 15th. Tim Wire in 16th. And Simon Foweather, I mentioned him as a battle, 17th, 18th with David Warden. He's cleared David Warden pretty handily now and will be taking 17th place at the line. David Warden 18th. Greg Vandevert coming around in 19th. And then our 2 lappers, Jared Cubitt, Donovan Bort, and Palermo, will be rounding out the field. So, an exciting race there, especially right to the end. I really want someone to pull off a full one stopper in one of these races, even though I know we make it hard on them. But one day I will celebrate when that happens. And we'll see if any of these guys are ready to come to the booth as I take a look into our waiting room. And it does look like we have our 3rd place finisher, Justin Hall. Justin, really strong race out there through the first half. Looked like things were going pretty well until you got tangled up with Cofford there. Hey?
Yeah, it was a tough race. Overtaking here is just like nearly impossible. You just like really have to send it on corner entry, it seems. Yeah, just my plan was just to stick with Cofford. I never meant to actually tap him, and once I did, and I saw him spin, it was I wanted to get that position back. So eventually got the chance to do that. And yeah, happy to finish where I did at least.
Yeah, it's a pretty good point salt for you. It did look like all the way through the broadcast like you were carrying just a lot more speed through turn 13 than those guys were, and unlucky that you couldn't quite find the move. And then right near the end of the race, there, all of a sudden you gave up a spot to Nick Love. What was that all about?
Yeah, so with these cars just following that closely on this track, I ended up getting an off track or a slowdown on that second to last turn. Just went too far off to the right. So I had 1.2 seconds that I had to give up. And as you're aware, once you get to slow down every corner, it makes it even worse. So I just wanted to get rid of it right away. And yeah, tried to fight Nick back after that, but just couldn't get it done.
Well, slight disappointment there at the end, but overall a pretty solid race, and looks like you're going to make up a fair amount of points on Alex Albert in the championship there too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely happy finishing third. Looking at the results here, one of the few cars that actually had a best lap time recorded, so take another little win there. um, but yeah, this was definitely a tough one. COTA is just it's just so easy to get a corner wrong, and then you're paying for it just the rest of the way around the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations, man. And with that finish, you're up to second place in the points behind Alex Albert. So, congratulations on a good season so far. Anyone you need to shout out?
Thanks, man. Yeah, shout out to the wife for the love and support. Shout out to you guys for all of your hard work. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Cheers. I've also found, though I think he came to me, to be fair, Nick Love in our waiting room there. Nick Love, second place finish for you today. Got to be feeling pretty good about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I qualified pretty far down. I had a rough qualifying, just couldn't keep it on the track. So with some of the contact in front of me, got really lucky and was able just to fight for the end of it.
I have to say you had me worried. I don't know if my telemetry was just wrong, but by my count, you had a 17-second pit stop and everyone else had a 25-second pit stop. I was sure you were going to run out of fuel. Were you fuel saving there?
Yeah, well, I actually got a couple of people watching the race, and they heard you say that, and they told me, and so I backed off, hopped behind a couple guys, and I figured I'd just draft for the rest of the race, and then try to compete at the end. And at last lap, I was just about on fumes.
There you go. That's like the opposite of the commentator's curse. I'm like I'm happy to know I helped out for once. But yeah, looked like it was a pretty competitive race. You were battling with Aaron Smith there for a while, and then at the end took advantage of that little mistake from Nick from Justin, and here you are.
Really, it's just trying to keep all the tires on the track. Alex and Justin both were just crazy fast the whole time, so I was really just hoping for one of them to get a slowdown, and unfortunately for Justin, he got one. So that's just kind of the way it went.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a great finish for the whole Love team too. Charles Gwalchek just off the podium in fourth place there.
Well, I know it. I think this is our best Love Racing finish here, so we're pumped. It's one of our home tracks.
Nice, makes sense. Well, cheers to you, man. Anyone you need to shout out today?
Shout out to my family. They're all here supporting me. We're about to head to the ChampCar race at CMP this weekend, so just about ready to pack up.
Nice. Well, have a good time, and hopefully your Rio race goes at least as good as this one did.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
Cheers. And we've also got our race winner, Alex Cofford, in the booth. Cofford, an exciting race, but qualified on pole and drove it to the win.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. It was a super challenging course. COTA's just really technical, and the street stock kind of can punish you in lots of ways. So it was an interesting drive from racing with other people. It is easy to keep up in a group, but it's hard to pass. It's got really tall gearing. So you kind of I don't know, you need a really good run, and you almost need the person in front of you to not have a good line in order to make a move. So once I was up front, I just decided to defend and always stay on the inside and then just hope for the best.
Yeah, and defend you did. It looked like you were holding off the whole field for damn near half the race there.
Well, I don't think it was that long. I mean, I got spun out, just unfortunate light contact, and so I actually had to catch up to that lead group. But yeah, it's definitely pack racing where you have to be aware left to right just as much as you are front to back. And we all know how slow that street stock stops. So there's lots of little incidents here and there, not even in talking about myself, but you could just hear little bumps and bruises quite often.
Yeah, man. Well, and once the pit stops had kind of shaken out and you got back up to the front, I guess you just kind of had it focused on the finish. Were there any moments where you were kind of doubting it?
Yeah, the initial time that I got spun, I've just had some really bad luck in the ChampCar series, to be honest. And so I was like, here we go again. Even though I know it wasn't malicious or intentional, it was just the lightest tap. Got my rear end loose and around I went. But once I got out of the pits and I saw that they were 4 or 5 seconds ahead, I knew that was easy. Not like easy to catch them, but easy in the sense of fresh tires matter so much that I had a huge advantage just to at least catch up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man. Well, and you made short work of them. Props on a great race and a great finish. Anyone you need to shout out today?
Yeah, shout out to COTA Bear and Timber for always supporting my racing, and then also Shane, Justin, and Alex. We always hop in, and it's a great time racing with them no matter what. So I love being able to share the track with them, and one day we're going to share the podium, and it's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that. Well, cheers, and thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And with that, we conclude the 8th round of the ChampCar iRacing series here at COTA. Our next round will be July 21st at Long Beach, featuring the NC Miatas. And the whole season schedule is available on the ChampCar website, as well as likely on your screen. We have an exciting season rest to go and a very competitive championship battle this year. I think there's at least 4 or 5 people that are really solidly in contention, which hasn't always been the case. So solid racing in and out, really good performances from all kinds of folks, and the same kind of exciting racing you've come to expect from the ChampCar series. But thank you very much, folks, for coming out and tuning in. And on behalf of Michael Derby, our producer, and myself and David Haynes, who couldn't join us tonight, thank you, folks, for coming out and supporting both us and the ChampCar series. Here's hoping we see you at the track.